The 7 stages of disease. Stage 1. Enervation. The initial stage is often overlooked by physicians and is termed enervation by life scientists or nervous exhaustion by most individuals. Enervation represents a state in which the body is either unable to generate sufficient nerve energy for its essential tasks, or the demands placed on the body surpass the normal supply of nerve energy. In either case, the body becomes compromised, and if conditions of overwork or undergeneration persist, an impaired body generates even less nerve energy. People are usually aware when they experience nervous exhaustion. Enervation can result from the depletion of nerve energy in numerous ways. Adequate sleep is crucial for nerve energy regeneration, as insufficient sleep fails to fully recharge the body's batteries. Demonstrating that nerve energy is electrical is straightforward. For instance, when you injure your finger, a rapid message travels to the brain, which then commands the body to remove the finger from the source of pressure. This swift transmission is only possible through a network of nerves with conductive abilities, and electricity is the sole form of energy capable of such speed. The body fundamentally operates as an organism relying on the electricity it generates and reserves. If this supply is depleted or insufficient to meet the body's needs, functions become impaired, including the elimination processes for metabolic wastes and introduced poisons. This impairment leads to further decline, diminishing the body's capacity to replenish depleted nerve energy. This downward trajectory marks the next stage, known as toxaemia. Stage 2, toxaemia and toxicosis. When toxic substances from various sources saturate the blood, tissues, lymph system, and interstitial fluids, the conditions of toxaemia and toxicosis emerge. As living organisms, we produce a significant quantity of toxic byproducts. For instance, we generate enough carbon dioxide that, if our lungs were to fail in their function, the buildup of carbon dioxide and lack of oxygenation would swiftly overwhelm us. Our capacity to handle carbon dioxide is limited, and this is just one of numerous waste products. With trillions of cells in the human body, tens of billions expire daily, replaced by new cells. Upon cell death, lysosomes, enzymes residing within a cell's organelle, break it down into smaller components for elimination, referred to as cell debris. Some components, like iron, protein, and amino acids, are recycled by the body, meeting a substantial portion of its iron and protein needs. This recycling showcases the remarkable providence and intelligence of the body in fulfilling its requirements. Other decomposed cell components include RNA and DNA, which are toxic while in the system. If they accumulate, a condition of intoxication, toxemia and toxicosis, arises. Medical professionals often mislabel these as viruses, attributing lifelike powers and malevolence to this inert debris. The saturation of tissues and blood with toxic materials can result from both internally generated wastes and external pollutants that the body struggles to eliminate. Intoxication occurs when the body is overloaded with toxic substances from external sources or when we neglect our capacities, experiencing factors like overwork, inadequate sleep, great stress, or other elements that deplete nerve energy or hinder its sufficient regeneration. Stress, emotional shocks, or traumatic experiences can rapidly drain our bodies of nerve energy, akin to shorting out a car battery. Stage 3. Irritation. Irritation emerges when our nerve network senses the presence of toxic materials. Most people tend to overlook this stage, and physicians often do not give it much consideration. Symptoms like itchiness, queasiness, jumpiness, or areas of discomfort, while not necessarily painful, indicate the existence of irritation. Even the tickling sensation in the nose is a form of irritation. Collections of mucus along the mucous membranes can be irritating, though not necessarily painful. It serves as a gentle prod, prompting us to seek relief and comfort. Consider the example of excessive alcohol consumption, an illustration of exogenous intoxication. While any amount of alcohol intake is detrimental to the organism, the body can swiftly eliminate a small quantity before significant damage occurs. However, as the intake increases, elimination becomes proportionately less effective, and the damage becomes more pronounced. Any toxic material, such as salt, caffeine, or condiments, can cause irritation or stimulation. In this situation, the body activates its defensive mechanisms, accelerating internal activities. This heightened activity may induce feelings of well-being, hyperactivity, or even euphoria, despite the underlying harm to the organism. If the factors contributing to enervation, intoxication, and irritation persist, and the body struggles to cope, it initiates a responsive crisis known as inflammation. Stage 4. Inflammation. This is the stage where individuals are acutely aware of a problem, as it involves pain. Additionally, it entails the redirection of vital energies within the body. The intestinal tract is shut down, and the energy that would usually be available for activity there is preempted and redirected to the significant effort to deal with a severe condition of intoxication. To prevent a mortal blow or crippling effect on the organism's integrity, the body mobilizes all its resources to address the emergency. In cases of inflammation, toxic substances are usually concentrated in an organ or area, leading to a massive expulsive effort. The area becomes inflamed due to the constant irritation caused by toxic materials. In the presence of inflammation, we commonly use terms like appendicitis, tonsillitis, hepatitis, or nephritis. It's noteworthy that these itises are all a result of overburdening 4 different organs responsible for purification and elimination. The names of these itises typically reflect the organ or tissue area that is inflamed. For instance, a cold is associated with rhinitis. Inflammation of sinus cavities leads to sinusitis, and inflammation of bronchial tissue results in bronchitis or asthma. This occurs because, in each case, the body has chosen the affected organ as an outlet for expelling toxic materials. Conditions like asthma persist because the toxic situation is continuous. As long as the individual continues to intoxicate themselves, the body keeps eliminating the overload through the affected organ, like the bronchi or alveolar tissue. Inflammation or fever represents the body's crisis response to a life-threatening situation. The body itself generates the fever, serving as evidence or a symptom of heightened and intense activities aimed at cleansing and repair. The extraordinary energies involved in a fever come at the expense of normal functions such as digestion, work, play, thinking, and seeing. Fever is a healing process, so drugging individuals with rhinitis or influenza amounts to striking the body's healer. Consequently, the eliminative effort is suppressed, and toxicity increases until other organs, usually the lungs, become saturated not only with the toxic substances, but also the administered drugs. When the body's vitality regains control, pneumonia is likely to ensue. Stage 5. Ulceration. Ulceration indicates the extensive destruction of cells and tissue structures. Physiological systems collapse because the body struggles to endure continuous exposure to toxic substances. Where tissue is eroded, a void remains. A prime example is a canker sore in the mouth, but lesions or ulcers can also manifest in other areas of the body. These conditions often bring intense pain due to exposed nerves. While the body might employ an ulcer as an outlet for expelling an extraordinary accumulation of toxins, it will naturally heal the ulcer when the underlying causes are ceased or when the toxicity level is significantly reduced. This reparative process is akin to patching up pants with holes in them and is referred to as induration. It is essential not to try to treat an ulcer or anything else you see outside the body unless it is a life-threatening wound which needs some kind of surgery. Stage 6. Induration. Induration refers to the toughening of tissue or the replacement of tissue voids with hardened tissue. Scarring is a type of induration. However, in this stage of disease, there is a deliberate and purposeful aspect to the hardening process. The vacant space is filled, and the threatening toxic materials are encapsulated within a sac of hardened tissue. The ulcer and the toxic materials are effectively isolated by the hardening of the tissue surrounding them. This serves as a means of containing the toxic materials, commonly referred to as tumor formation. Interestingly, this condition is often misdiagnosed as cancer in 19 cases out of 20, even when no actual cancer is present. Induration represents the final stage where the body exercises intelligent control. If the pathogenic practices that led to this stage persist, cells and tissue systems undergo uncontrolled changes. They adapt to survive independently, with cells turning parasitic, drawing sustenance from the lymph fluid without contributing anything to the body's economy. These cells become disorganized, and their genetic encoding is altered by the presence of toxins. Consequently, they lose the capability for intelligent, normal, and organized actions within the framework of a vital economy. When cells behave erratically in this manner, the condition is diagnosed as cancer. Stage 7. Cancer. The culmination of the disease's progression is cancer, marking the final stage that is typically fatal, especially if the factors causing it persist. Halting these causative factors and adopting healthful practices may potentially arrest the progression, as they can rejuvenate the body to the extent of even eliminating cancer cells. The outcome is relative. Cancer cells thrive in a challenging environment but continue to divide and flourish as long as nutrients are available to sustain them. These cells can be seen as having become independent, reverting to the status of uncontrolled primitive cells, existing autonomously, akin to protozoa. The distinct characters of these disease stages are apparent, yet the demarcation lines are somewhat arbitrary. This ambiguity often arises in attempts to categorize, where one form evolves into another without clear-cut delineation. The question of when cancer begins is sometimes raised. Natural hygienists assert that it initiates with the first cold or rash in childhood. The initial crisis a baby undergoes sets in motion the pathological chain leading to cancer. This evolutionary chain commences at that point because the phenomenon of life entails a continual violation of the laws of life from its inception to its conclusion. Only by recognizing this and sticking to the natural laws of living can we remain healthy.